We should bring in our colleague Del Walters for perspective that only he seems to be able to give us during these times, because, you know, this is a day to do that. And there he is. There's the man. You know, and I want to mention something, Del. It's a very serious day, but it was only, it seemed like, Mike, about 2 minutes ago, where they popped him up and we could see him. I don't know if he knew we were watching, but he had on like a tracksuit. And he had just worked out. It looked like he was casual Del. And now he's turned into a network newsman again. Did you see that? Unless that was you about 2 minutes ago. Yes, Del? That's amazing.
It's unbelievable how quickly we can change clothes. You know, it's funny, you guys were talking about how serious this day is, and it is indeed a serious day. And I was thinking, you know, first of all, I got no sleep last night because I kept thinking back about what this day was, what it was like, and what it still means, and the fact that Black America still has not yet had our story told. You know, when you think about the Stop the Steal, they weren't complaining about votes that were cast in places like Texas, where Trump won. They were talking about votes in places like Wisconsin and Arizona and Pennsylvania and Georgia, where there are large growing Black populations that finally exercised our political clout. And when you look at this crowd gathered at the Capitol that day, there aren't Black faces in that crowd. This was not a battle over democracy. This was a battle over an old America wanting to hold on to the last gasp of whiteness. And you know, when Donald Trump won and we heard them talk about Make America Great, everybody in Black America knew what he was talking about. And you heard white Americans struggle with it for so long. That's not what he means. That's, of course, what he meant. Hillary Clinton told you, Maya Angelou, when someone tells you who they are, believe them. We believe them. White America did not. And this is what it led up to. And until we address the underlying problem in this country, that it is a nation of immigrants, white, Black, Asian, various shades of each group, we will be right back here again, I guarantee you, in 2022 and in 2024.
We all know what Make America Great Again meant, because when for Black people has America actually been great in a sense? What time period that has been? We've made progress, but they wanted to take it back to the time where we had no rights whatsoever, and they're trying to take away our voting rights right now because they see the power we saw in 2020. But look, you've been in D.C. for a long time, Dale, and you've done an outstanding job covering the government there. Did you ever think that you would ever see a day like we saw this time last year?
No, and I think that all of us misunderstood the power of the millions of people who came to the mall to see Barack Obama being elected. You know, hope and change, that changing face of America, the Black president, America living up to the promise that so many of us had once dreamed would happen. We saw that as one of the brightest days in American history, but there are pockets of this country, and it is a small pocket. I think we always have to be careful on days like today that we don't magnify the MAGA crowd bigger than what it is. The vast majority of Americans believe in the America of Barack Obama. The underlying, though, group saw that as a challenge, saw that as a setback for a white America that never, ever was. You know, when we talk about Make America Great Again, let's go back to just a sports analogy. Remember when they used to shoot basketballs underhanded, and then came people like Dr. J? Remember entertainment before people like Michael Jackson? Remember the arts before people like Misty Copeland? America is better when it is diverse, and we always have to remind our audiences of that. And that's what this network is for. It's not basically to focus on everything Black. It's to remind America of what Black does, and that we're no threat. We're not boys in the hood. We're not training day. We're people that are simply trying to make this a better country for our children as we move forward. I thought I would see it. I hoped I did not. I knew there was going to be backlash to Barack Obama because I covered the Klan for 20 years. I knew how much they hated the fact that this Black man not only succeeded as president, he thrived. And that in itself presented a challenge to the people that you saw flock to the Capitol on January 6th.
So, Del, I need your help then, because what you're talking about is that pendulum, right? You have a future First Lady saying for the first time she's proud. And we knew what that meant, too. And she was right. And Barack Hussein Obama's elected, and then we get 45. and now we have Joe Biden. At some point, I fear there's that risk that it'll stop, that pendulum. And so when you talk about it's a small pocket of Americans who are part of this ugliness, how do we reconcile the 74 plus million who watched this lie percolate? You know, because we know what happened after the election, but this lie was building and growing for years, and they voted that way anyway. Can't we equate them with this growing ugliness?
Yeah, we do, and we should, and we shouldn't back down. And I think that's the problem. The vast majority of Americans are backing down. And as I work on DC today, I do a lot of studying history. And I was looking back to the assassination of President Lincoln. And there were hundreds of people rounded up. 10 people actually were tried. Several were hanged, among them Mary Surratt, who simply provided the shelter for the people as they planned the conspiracy. If all of this is starting to sound familiar, it should. But here's the difference. President Abraham Lincoln was assassinated, and because he was assassinated, there was national outrage. There was unified outrage at what happened to America. Imagine, if you will, on that day, a year ago today, that when the crowd said, "Hang Mike Pence," they found Mike Pence and hanged him. Would we be talking about this conspiracy differently? And yes, we would. And that's the problem. This country has a tendency to want to bury its past. We did it with Oklahoma. We've done it with so many different cities, with places in Florida and North Carolina. When it rears its ugly head, be it Native Americans or African Americans or Asian Americans, it wants to then hide and say, nothing to see here, that didn't happen. It did happen. And until we look in the mirror and realize that we have that dark side as a country, it's going to happen again. The best thing to do, disinfectant, of course, is sunlight, and we do that in the media, but people have to stand up to the people, the bullies, if you will, the Donald Trumps, and not necessarily say you're a bigot. We know that. But then ask the more prescient question, what have you done for me lately? And what have you done for America, period? And I think when we ask that question, we get to the bottom line. If we want a country that runs, if we want our Social Security checks to be delivered on time, if we want our veterans to be taken care of, and a strong military, we have to have a Washington to get something done. And the bottom line with Donald Trump, forget about him being a bigot. There are bigots in America all over the place. He didn't get anything done.
Yeah.
No, and then once again, he divided the country even further, or he exposed those people who are being quiet for a long period of time, and he emboldened them to speak out the way they're speaking out right now. But we see polls where there are 40% Republicans, 41% independents, 23% of Democrats who believe that violence against this country is justified. And you see a poll where you see that 70% of Republicans still won't acknowledge that Joe Biden is the president of the United States. So they bought in to the big lie, even if they know it is a lie. So Del, I'll ask you, where is our democracy right now, and what's the biggest threat to that democracy?
The biggest threat to our democracy right now is white folk that won't say what's going on. You cannot cover up what happened on January 6th, and attempts to do so only make things worse. How do we solve this problem with our democracy? We don't go to Lauren Boebert's bar. We don't give Marjorie Taylor Greene oxygen. All of us have known the Lauren Boeberts of the world. We've known the Donald Trumps of the world. We've known the Marjorie Taylor Greenes of the world. The truth of the matter is we all walked past them and moved forward. America needs to move forward and understand that it is now putting space tourists out there. It is now putting electric cars on the road. And that's what the Biden administration is actually trying to do, is to move forward. But in order to do so, we also have to put down the rabid dog. And the rabid dog is that hatred in America that says, for some reason, if I have nothing else, if I am Lauren Boebert or I am Marjorie Taylor Greene and I have nothing else, at least I'm better than black folk. News flash to both of them. No, you're not. No, you're not. You know, you simply are deluding yourself, and we have to tell them that. This is a delusion. America being great? No, it wasn't. America is great when America does what America can do. But if you think that you live in some illusion of Ozzie and Harriet or Father Knows Best, newsflash for you, that was filmed in New York City. It was not filmed in your neighborhood, and there's a reason that it wasn't, because your neighborhood didn't look like that.
Wow.
I love that, man.
Del, we're out of time, but what did Lyndon Johnson say about the lowest white man? He had it right then, Del. He knew the makeup,
And they still believe
the
that, and
fabric
it's
of
sad.
America. It's sad. Well, we're going to be looking to you to give us that network-wide perspective today. Del Walters, thank you so much for sharing with us this morning. You can watch DC Today, 10 a.m. Eastern, right here on BNC. Appreciate you, brother.